Welcome back, history buffs and casual viewers alike. You know how much we love a good old-fashioned ranking system here. And what better subject to rank than the leaders of the free world, the big cheeses of American democracy, the commanders-in-chief themselves, U.S. presidents. Today, we're diving into the top 10 most influential presidents in U.S. history. Influence is a tricky thing to measure, kind of like trying to weigh a bald eagle using only a thimble in a dream. But we've done our best to consider all the factors, from groundbreaking policies to lasting legacies. And let me tell you, it's a wild ride through American history. Stick around because you won't believe who made it to number one. It's not who you think. Kicking things off with the big guy himself, the OG POTUS, George Washington. Now you might be thinking, oh, come on, Washington, that's like putting breathing at the top of a list of essential human functions. Sure, leading the Continental Army to victory and being the first president automatically grants you a certain level of influence. But what really sets Washington apart is that he could have easily crowned himself king after the Revolutionary War. The Founding Fathers were all George. Seriously, we'll build you a throne out of solid gold, and he was all, nah, I'm good, fam. How about a nice, sturdy desk instead? And just like that, he established the peaceful transfer of power, setting a precedent for every president that followed. Next up, we have the author of the Declaration of Independence and notorious inventor of the swivel chair, Thomas Jefferson. Now, you might know him as the guy who bought a massive chunk of land from Napoleon in a deal that would make even the savviest real estate mogul blush. The Louisiana Purchase, as it's known, effectively doubled the size of the United States for a bargain price that works out to about 3 cents an acre. But Jefferson wasn't just about expanding borders. He was also a staunch advocate for religious freedom, public education, and, well, some other things that were a bit more complicated. He sent Lewis and Clark on their epic expedition to explore the West, which is basically like the 19th century equivalent of sending a rover to Mars. They sent back detailed accounts of new species and Native American cultures. Coming in at number 3, we have the man who led the nation through its darkest hour, Abraham Lincoln. Honestly, what can we even say about this guy that hasn't been said before? He's like the Beyoncé of presidents, universally beloved, endlessly quotable, and with a legacy that just won't quit. Lincoln held the Union together during the Civil War, a conflict that threatened to tear the nation apart. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing enslaved people in Confederate states and changing the course of American history forever. And he did all of this while rocking a truly magnificent beard. But perhaps Lincoln's most enduring legacy is his unwavering belief in the ideals of democracy and equality. Even in the face of unimaginable adversity, he never gave up on the dream of a nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're moving into the 20th century with our number 4 pick, Theodore Roosevelt. Imagine a president who was basically a real-life action hero. This was a man who once delivered a 90-minute speech after being shot in the chest, because apparently even bullets couldn't stop him from making a point. Roosevelt was a force of nature, both literally and figuratively. He was a staunch conservationist who established national parks, protected wildlife, and basically invented the concept of environmentalism as we know it. He was also a trust buster, taking on big corporations and fighting for the little guy. Roosevelt was a true original, a whirlwind of energy, idealism, and a healthy dose of good old-fashioned American swagger. Our number 5 most influential president is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or FDR as he's commonly known. Now, FDR had a lot on his plate during his time in office. He had to deal with the Great Depression, which was like the economic equivalent of the entire country getting a flat tire on the way to a job interview. His solution? The New Deal, a series of programs and reforms designed to put people back to work, provide relief to the suffering, and prevent another economic meltdown. And if that wasn't enough, World War II came knocking, and FDR had to lead the nation through its second existential crisis in less than a century. He rallied the American people, oversaw the Allied victory, and helped lay the groundwork for the post-war world order. Oh, and he also did all of this while battling polio, a debilitating disease that left him partially paralyzed. But FDR never let his physical limitations define him. He was a beacon of hope and resilience during one of the most challenging periods in American history. Coming in at number 6 is Harry S. Truman, a man who knew a thing or two about tough decisions. He took over as president after FDR's death in 1945, inheriting the weight of World War II and the daunting task of guiding the nation through the post-war era. And if you thought being president during peacetime was tough, imagine stepping into the role right as the world is developing nuclear weapons. That was Truman's reality, and he made the fateful decision to use atomic bombs against Japan, effectively ending the war, but ushering in the terrifying age of nuclear warfare. It's a decision that continues to be debated to this day, a stark reminder of the immense responsibility and impossible choices that come with the presidency. But Truman's legacy goes beyond the atomic bomb. He also implemented the Marshall Plan, a massive economic aid package that helped rebuild war-torn Europe and prevented the spread of communism. He also oversaw the desegregation of the U.S. Armed Forces, a landmark decision in the fight for racial equality. Truman's presidency was a complex mix of tough choices and lasting impacts. Next up, we have the epitome of Camelot cool John F. Kennedy. JFK was the youngest man ever elected president, and he brought a youthful energy and optimism to the White House. He challenged the nation to ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, inspiring a generation to public service. He also stared down the Soviets during the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tense standoff that brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. And let's be real, the man knew how to rock a tailored suit like no other president before or since. But perhaps JFK's most lasting impact was his bold vision for space exploration. He challenged America to land a man on the moon before the end of the decade, igniting the space race and capturing the imaginations of millions around the world. JFK's legacy is one of inspiration and ambition. At number 8, we have Lyndon B. Johnson, a man who often gets overshadowed by the larger-than-life presidents who came before and after him. But LBJ, as he was known, was a political powerhouse in his own right, a master legislator who knew how to get things done. He picked up the torch of civil rights after JFK's assassination, pushing through the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, landmark legislation that outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. He also launched the Great Society, an ambitious set of domestic programs aimed at eliminating poverty, improving education, and expanding healthcare. But LBJ's presidency was also deeply marked by the Vietnam War, a conflict that escalated dramatically under his leadership and divided the nation like few events before or since. It's a complex and tragic legacy, a reminder that even the most well-intentioned presidents can make decisions that have devastating consequences. Coming in at number 9 is Ronald Reagan, the former actor who brought a Hollywood sheen to the White House. Reagan was a master communicator, a charismatic figure who connected with the American people on a visceral level. He presided over the end of the Cold War, staring down the Soviet Union and overseeing the fall of the Berlin Wall. He also implemented sweeping economic policies known as Reaganomics, which emphasized tax cuts, deregulation, and free market principles. Reagan's legacy is still fiercely debated today. His supporters credit him with revitalizing the American economy and winning the Cold War, while his critics argue that his policies led to increased income inequality and a decline in social safety nets. And finally, our number 10 most influential president is Barack Obama, the first African American to hold the highest office in the land. Obama's election was a watershed moment in American history, a testament to how far the nation had come in its long journey toward racial equality. He inherited a country reeling from the Great Recession, the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. He signed the Affordable Care Act, expanding health insurance coverage to millions of Americans who previously lacked it. And he oversaw the killing of Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks, a moment of catharsis for a nation still healing from the wounds of that tragic day. Obama's presidency was a time of both great progress and bitter partisan division. Well, there you have it. Our whirlwind tour of the 10 most influential U.S. presidents. We know we barely scratched the surface on these complex historical figures. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It really helps us out and lets us know you want to see more content like this. And be sure to let us know in the comments who you think is the most influential president and why. We read every single one unless they're written in hieroglyphics. See you next time on our channel.